This happened in the early 2000s, and I was around 12 years old. My dad had passed away about 2 years before leaving my mom, sister, and myself. To help me cope with my father's passing, my mom took me to the animal shelter to pick out a dog, since having a large dog was something that I always wanted. In one of the cages was a small shepherd/husky huddled in the corner that I right away fell in love with. When this incident happened, he was about 1 year old, 90 pounds, and my best friend. We lived in a small, middle-class suburb with low crime rate, and I wasn't scared to be home alone. I was sitting in the living room playing video games and got up heading to the kitchen to grab a drink. In the kitchen, I had a clear view through the back door and could see the garage open. Thinking that I just left it open after putting my bike away, I headed out the door to close it. My dog was sleeping in the basement since he liked to lay on the cool floor during the summer months, and I didn't think to take him out with me. I step out the door and make it about 5 feet from it when I notice in the darkness a crouched shadow moving in the garage. I froze, trying to get my eyes to adjust to make out what the shadow was. It finally hit me when I saw the figure stand up and turn towards me. I was terrified and felt like I had been glued to the spot. I knew that this person could see me since the back porch light was shining above me. At that moment, the figure started running towards me. I was too scared to move and let out more of a yelp than a scream. But that was all it took for my dog to hear, and the next thing I heard was him behind me snarling and growling. I could make out it was a man, but not features, when he now froze, seeing this 90-pound beast behind me. He turned and ran for the back fence, with my dog right behind him. The guy made it to the fence, and since it was only 4 feet, he hopped right before my dog got to him. After he got away, my dog came running back to me, and we went inside where I barricaded the doors. I don't know why, but I didn't call the cops, and I never told my mom or sister what happened. One thing that bothered me was that he had to have known I was inside since the lights were on and the blinds were open. So why take the risk to hit a house when someone was clearly home? The next morning after my mom was home, I went outside to finally close the garage and noticed what he had been going through was my dad's toolbox. I locked up the garage and never told anyone about what happened. So I've had a few bad experiences with strange people in my house. From when I was young, an old man would come banging on our door late at night demanding to see me, causing me to hide in the house and not be allowed into the garden alone for years. Or when a man came knocking on our door late at night with a knife because he mistook our house for my neighbor's. These experiences all caused me to be very cautious about opening the front door to anyone or even being in the house alone, especially at night. But this one evening was definitely the worst. It was around 6 p.m. in November 2018. I'm from England, meaning it was already pitch black outside at this time of the year. I had just got home from work and was sat in my room upstairs just watching YouTube on my laptop. My mom shouted up to me that she was just going to pick up my brother from work and would be stopping off at the gas station on the way back, so she would be gone for a little bit, and asked if I wanted to come. I said no and carried on with my video. I heard her close the front door and pull out of the driveway. I was 17 at the time, so being home alone at night was nothing new to me, and I was used to the eerie feeling of it all. But after around 10 minutes, I started hearing noises coming from downstairs. At first I thought nothing of it, and just related it to my cat noisily searching for food in an empty bowl, until I remembered him sitting at the end of my bed. I paused my video and listened more at the sound of banging on the back door. This instantly creeped me out, until it was followed by the sounds of keys jangling, and I just thought, oh, my mom must have dropped my brother off before going to the gas station, and he's just trying to go outside. So I let the noises continue as I kept watching my video. He can get quite angry sometimes, so the loud banging was nothing out of the ordinary, but it just kept carrying on. Banging and the sound of keys jangling, then dropped and banging again. Then the fear really hit me. I don't think it's him. I walked out of my room slowly and sat on the stairs, listening carefully to the noise. It definitely wasn't him. I'm a very anxious person, and everyone gets those times late at night when they hear noises and immediately think of the worst. This was just one of those moments, so I decided to bite the bullet and just walk straight into the kitchen and face whatever it was causing the noise. Our kitchen has the door straight to the garden, but as I turned the corner into the kitchen, I heard a loud bang and clatter of footsteps running away. The cat flap had been ripped off the door, and there was plastic from it everywhere. In fear, I still tried to console myself into thinking it could be anything other than people trying to break in. I sat on the stairs and called my mom just to check again that it wasn't my brother home early and just in a bad mood. But then he answered my mom's phone while still in the car. "Are you home?" I shouted at him. "No, I'm not." Then my voice started to break with terror. "Please be serious. Are you at home right now?" "No, what do you want?" Even though he said he wasn't, I still begged in my mind that he was joking just to scare me. But he heard how scared I was and began to worry. I explained to him what happened and he started to scream at me to call the police. He's never been the protective type, but I could tell now he was really worried and told my mom to rush back home straight away. While dialing 999, I tried so hard to stay calm. I told him exactly what was happening as I hid in my room with the door tightly locked. Then I heard talking and banging of doors again downstairs. They were back. I burst into tears to the dispatcher out of pure fear and sat on the phone for what felt like forever until my mom, brother, and police all pulled up at the same time. Everyone charged through the house to the back door and we instantly saw what they'd done. The people saw the keys to the back door on the side in the kitchen, so they took a broom from the outside, broke it in half on the door handle, got the broom through the cat flap and knocked the keys off the side and pulled them through the cat flap. Although out of pure luck, as they broke the broom in half, they also managed to snap off the door handle, making it impossible for it to be opened from the outside. Otherwise, they would have gotten in, no questions asked, and I would have been sitting quietly in my room, completely oblivious. It was clear afterwards that they had been watching the house for a while, waiting until the exact moment they saw my mom's car pull out of the driveway. I'm not sure if they knew I was there alone or not, but I know that after they initially saw me and ran away, they made a choice to come back. So I grew up in rural Texas, with about 1,000 people in my hometown. Shortly after my parents' divorce, I moved to a larger city for college, and made it a tradition every year to visit my family for the holidays in the boonies of Texas. After the divorce, my mom had just recently moved to a nearby town of about 100 people where her house was located on the very outskirts of town, surrounded by miles of cornfields in almost every direction of her house. There was a side paved road about 100 feet of her house that basically was a dead end until you reached a certain point, and directly across the other side of the road was miles of fields of corn. The only neighbor she had was about half a mile north of her house, who was a truck driver and basically was never home much of the year. Needless to say, it was pretty secluded, and pretty much the only thing close to civilization was about 15 to 20 miles away. This particular winter break was different because my mom and brother, who lived in the same city as me but attending a different college, were going to travel to Boston to visit my grandparents, and my mom needed someone to dog sit while they were away. So after a few days of having the house to myself in the middle of nowhere, I was particularly bored, so I decided to put the harness on my dog and take a walk around the area in no particular direction. We finally ended up following the dead-end road and turned back as it starts to get darker and the wind starts picking up because a cold front was coming through. By this time, I'm slightly more frustrated with myself because I could start to smell the rain, and my dog can be particularly stubborn because he basically likes to walk me instead of the other way around. Anyways, as we start walking back, it's starting to get colder and it's drizzling now, and I start to walk a bit faster. We're almost jogging back now to the house when all of a sudden my dog stops abruptly. I initially think it's just him being stubborn, but he starts leading me into the direction of the cornfields. I'm thinking that this is just one of those cases where he locks onto a scent and cannot let it go until he goes directly up to it and smells it, or I have to pick him up and lead him back on track. Well, I basically don't allow him to go very far, and we are directly in front of the fields when all of a sudden he starts barking, similar to how he barks when he sees another person. He's not the friendliest dog to other people. I finally pick him up and we run back home, both pretty damp and cold by now. I dry up and then take a bath, since there's no showers in this house. It's evening time now, and after making something to eat, my dog and I start winding down for the night. We watch a bit of TV in the living room, and by 10 p.m. call it a night. It was still windy and rainy outside at this time, so we go into the bedroom and my dog burrows underneath the blankets, and I pass out shortly after that. Several hours later, I woke up to my dog awake and growling on my bed in the direction of the window. I hear rustling outside and think that it's likely other animals, but I'm kinda drowsy still, so I get out of the bed and pick up my dog and bring him to the living room couch where I turn on the TV to drown out the rustling noise. My dog burrows underneath the blankets again, and I'm just about to fall asleep when I hear a thud outside. I'm like, what the hell was that? And of course my dog is wide awake again and barking and growling. Anyways, I'm pretty much wide awake now and I kind of start getting annoyed with my dog. So I basically turn up the TV to hopefully drown out the rustling outside once again. I swear to God, 25 minutes later at 1:30 a.m., I hear a knock on the back door. All hell breaks loose with my dog, and literally is about to jump off the couch and dash to the door. I caught him last minute and started to just hold him in place while we were both freaking out. Anyways, I don't really remember what I did at that very moment, but somehow my dog started to calm down again. I'm pretty sure I blacked out because there's a literal period where I don't remember anything. Shortly thereafter, I don't hear any more rustling of leaves coming from the outside, and my dog is now silent and ready to burrow again underneath the blankets. Then I was dozing off to slumberland, only to wake up 30 minutes later to another knock on the front door. I literally felt my heart pumping so damn fast that I grabbed the landline and dialed 911. My dog is now at the door barking furiously. I reach a nearby town which is 15 to 20 miles away. They pick up, and I frantically state what is happening all the while my dog is freaking out. The police from the town were on their way, but it was going to take a while to get to my house. I stay online with the dispatcher and things start to calm down again, and I basically state I'm pretty sure I got it from here until the police arrive. I hang up and very carefully look out the side window, only to see a man standing directly in front of the door. No movement from him at all, just a blank stare at the door. I grab the mace and my dog and state very loudly that the police are on their way. No response back. I'm literally thinking the guy was on drugs at this point. I open the front door. The door in this house is a secondary door for a windowed screen. I look into his face and basically ask what the hell he wants, and told him that the police are about to be here. He just stares blankly. Pause for what must have been the longest 20 seconds in my life. He opens his mouth and asks if I want to play a game with him. After that, I immediately shut the door and yelled back furiously, "Ah, screw that, absolutely not." I literally waited in the bedroom and watched him on my porch for about 5 minutes, just staring blankly at the door, no movement whatsoever. He finally turns around and just walks away. About 20 minutes later, the cops show up, and I'm basically describing everything frantically. I literally peed my pants earlier with how terrifying everything was. The cops basically state that there's a guy in my town that has schizophrenia and is going through late-stage Alzheimer's and somehow wanders around people's homes. Needless to say, they found him and took him back to his caretakers. The cops asked if I had anywhere else to go. I basically packed everything up and bolted to my father's house with my dog and stayed there for the remainder of the break.